Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and I won an RCQ, and I know that's like not a huge deal, but it was kind of an exciting tournament for me because I had a really weird RCQ season. I XO double drew into 6 out of the 9 RCQs I went to the previous season, and then lost all of them in top 8, in like literally the first round of top 8, like 8 people left, I lose. I made top 8 of 2 other ones, just a little less clean, also lost in literal top 8 of those. And I didn't make top 8 of only one of the RCQs I didn't go to last season. This season, I had an extremely dry run. I didn't top 8 like 5 or 6 RCQs in a row. And then I banged out a second place in Pioneer playing red-black mid-range, losing in the finals to blue-white control, where I got blown out game 1 with the main deck Settle the Wreckage. It was really bad, where I attacked with a man land to like not advance my board to play around a board wipe and then got my board wiped. It's really bad. And then the following week, I came in second again in Modern with 5-color creativity. Now, when this happened, it went semi-Twitter viral. And Jerry Mangucci actually talked about how extremely unlucky I got in the finals of that one in his podcast, because it was actually that insane. In the finals, I was playing against Hammer Time, and in game 3, my opponent had a Spell Skite, and I had another creature and a treasure, and I creativity for 2 into the creature and the treasure. Now, the way Spell Skite works is he can redirect one of the targets of creativity, but not both. So we're both able to creativity for 1 when they redirected to Spell Skite. I hit Archon of Cruelty, which stabilized the board and probably means that I win the game. My opponent hit Hushbringer and untapped and proceeded to win the game. It was incredibly unlucky, felt super bad, and it was my second place in a row. And then going into the last RCQ of the season is the RCQ I want to talk about because I ended up winning it. First off, I played this 75. It's a 5-color creativity deck. If you guys don't know what 5-color creativity is, which I hope you do if you're watching this video, but it's essentially a control deck and a tempo deck, and you're trying to get ahead on tempo and get some permanents, mostly token permanents, and then cast Transmogrify or Indomitable Creativity on these permanents that you have, which destroys or exiles the creature. You then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact or a creature card. The only creature cards or artifacts that we play in our deck are Atraxa and Archon of Cruelty, to cheat them onto the battlefield as early as turn 4. It is an incredibly strong and potent strategy, and very much my pet deck in Modern. Now in run 1, I played against Blue-White Hammer, and I got smushed. I actually just didn't get to play Magic in game 1. And so in the last RCQ of the season, losing round 1, it felt really bad. Like, I don't even have any stories from the game. I just got smushed. Like, it wasn't even close. Came in second twice, losing round 1. It was 35 people, so a super, super thick 5 rounds. And it was brutal. It was a really hard feeling, like maybe I won't qualify for this RC. So going into round 2, I played against Red Black Scammed, and I got scammed game 1. So I'm 0-1 and down a game. By the way, after they scammed me on turn 3, they Croxa'd Undyed Croxa. That felt really bad, by the way. That's a play that Scam hasn't done to me yet. Dislike. However, I was very lucky that in game 2 and 3, they didn't keep Scam hands and kept Ragavan hands, which my hand was set up very well to battle against, and I was able to eke out the win. So I was 1-1. In round 3 at 1-1, I played against Jeskai Stoneblade, which is kind of a cool deck. In game 1, it kind of was just a Jeskai control deck. You didn't have any of the Stoneblade stuff. And creativity really thrives against control. It is totally okay with going 1-for-1 with the opponent because there's some incredible inevitability with Indomitable Creativity or just casting the payoffs. And so I won pretty easily game 1, and then game 2, my opponent kept a 2-lander and literally never hit the 3rd land. I mean, we take those free wins, especially since we got smushed in round 1. So we're 2-1. Round 4 was against Red-White Hammer, which plays the 1-mana instant that attaches an equipment to a creature, so it's like a lot more explosive than Blue-White Hammer, but I don't have to worry about Spell Pierce now. So I actually like the matchup a lot more because I can play more freely. I don't have a lot of stories from the game. In game 1, they didn't keep a very aggressive hand, even though it is the aggressive version of Hammer, and I was able to creativity them and win. Game 2, they kept a very aggressive hand, and I just died. And then in game 3, I actually made my first, like, I guess, known play mistake of the tournament. I ultimated a Wrenn in 6. My opponent was at, like, 12, and I had over 4 lands in hand and a lightning bolt in the graveyard, and I just decided not to kill them. To be fair, I was really ahead at the time. I had a Prismari Command. I was like, you know, rebounding Prismari Command and like drawing a bunch of cards, making a bunch of treasure and whatever. So it like didn't matter, but I realized it like 3 turns later that I could have just killed them a few turns before. I was very lucky that my opponent didn't punish me for that, but I made a mental note. I needed to start cleaning up my plays. I also started to feel kind of sick at that point. I have a preschooler at home, and so I haven't felt 100% since September. And so I started getting tired and stuff. And so then I had to fight against that. My breakers were horrible, but my last round was a win and in, right? I was 3-1, X and 1. And I played against Teamer Rhinos. Team of Rhinos is not a great matchup for creativity. Team of Rhinos being able to play their combo at instant speed, and after they combo, it's really annoying and resource intensive to be able to deal with their combo, and they can kill really, really fast before creativity can set up. It's not a nightmare matchup, but it's not good. And we were going back and forth in game one and having a pretty good game, and then my opponent made a very subtle mistake. They had 5 lands and suspended a Crashing Footfalls. When they passed back to me, I played a Teferi Time Raveler. They tapped 3 mana to hard counter with Force of Negation, and I just Spell Pierced it. And because they only had 5 lands, and they suspended the Crashing Footfalls, they didn't have the ability to pay it, and I was able to resolve Teferi Time Raveler, which the deck has a very hard time dealing with Resolve Teferi Time Raveler, and I won game 1. And then game 2, my opponent had some mana troubles, and I was able to creativity them pretty swiftly. So I won my win into top 8, and I actually went into top 8 in 3rd, which felt really good. And I get paired against the 6th seed, obviously, because that's how the top 8s work. And it was Blue-Black Mill. Now, Blue-Black Mill is a kind of a corner case deck, though it did win the Modern playoff on Magic Online this past season, which is kind of scary. And is a really bad matchup for creativity, because it's often faster than creativity. It doesn't care what creativity is doing in most cases. And if my payoffs are milled, there's no real way for me to win. And they have a lot of interaction to my combo for when I even try to go for it with like counter magic and removal spells and things like that. In game 1, I got very lucky. They milled me for a whole bunch. I probably had less than 20 cards left in my deck, but they only milled my Atraxa and 0 of my Archons. And I was able to, on turn 5, I creativity for 2, hit 2 Archons. They had to discard cards and were unable to win the game. And then in game 2, they had a triple crab hand, and I had triple removal spell, and they really had no other way to mill me. And they just had a bunch of interaction, and I can fight through interaction. That is totally okay, and I was able to win. And so on to top 4. In top 4, I played against Living End, and my opponent was really funny, I think. We had really good banter and some really amazing games. My opponent just dumpstered me in game 1. Not even close. In game 2, my opponent was milling a bunch and I didn't have a lot of interaction. And the turn before they were able to combo, I ripped a Hallowed Moonlight. I cast the Hallowed Moonlight into them comboing, and then I was able to like claw back into the game, which was awesome. And then game 3, we had a super, super long game again, which involved me countering multiple Living Ends and eventually creativity and winning. So now I'm in the finals for the 3rd RCQ in a row. And a bunch of my friends from the home store stuck around, including my best bud, Murderbeard, if you're ever in the stream, by the way, I stream on Twitch, who had qualified 2 weeks before the weekend I got my first second. He was at a different RCQ. And a few of my other friends who I'm not sure if they want me to share their name on YouTube, so I'm not going to share their name, but you know who you are. Thank you so much for staying and cheering me on. And I played against another friend of mine, playing Blue-Red Prowess, which is kind of a rough matchup for this version of creativity. However, in game 1, they kept sort of a slower hand, and they tapped out the turn before my turn 4, so I just dwarfed creativity, and they couldn't answer it, and I won. Game 2, they played turn 1 Soulscar Mage, turn 2 Soulscar Mage, Soulscar Mage, and I very much lost. And then game 3 was really interesting. I mulliganed to 5 on the play, and I kept not a great hand. I kept a 2-lander, and one of them was a Dwarven Mine. I think the 1 land was like a Sacred Foundry. I went turn 1 Strike It Rich. They played DRC. I untapped, missed, played a Dwarven Mine, passed back. They pumped up DRC with the Mutavault and dealt damage to me. Maybe they bolted me. I can't really remember. And jammed in. I missed again, and I decided to sack my treasure, use my 2 lands to play Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And so on their turn, they play a 3rd land and shrug and say, I don't want to do the math. This is probably enough, which is kind of funny in the moment because we were bantering really well, and played Underworld Breach with, I think it was about 5 cards in the graveyard, including a Mutagenic Growth. So they went Mutagenic Growth, mill a card with DRC, Mutagenic Growth from graveyard, mill a card with DLC, Mutagenic Growth from a graveyard, mill a card with DLC. And 2 of the 3 cards that were milled were Lava Darts. And he still had a Lightning Bolt in his graveyard. And so he said, that's definitely enough. Flashback, Lava Dart, sacrifice in a land, hit me. Mill a card, flashback, Lava Dart, flash, sacrifice in a land, hit me, mill a card. One of the cards they milled was another Lava Dart, flashback, Lava Dart, hit me, mill a card. And I'm at 11 at this point. However, while they have enough cards in their graveyard to flashback Mutagenic Growth, probably 2 more times actually, if they did that, they would lose Delirium. And if they lose Delirium, then Mutagenic Growth effectively does nothing. And so that was a problem. So they flashbacked Lightning Bolt to kill my Goblin. and then we're able to mill a card to get Delirium back, decided not to continue Mutagenic Growthing with Delirium, and hit me for 9. And so I'm at 2, and I untap, peel Lightning Bolt. Okay, this is good. Trigger Fable. I discard, my hand before that is Spell Pierce, Creativity. I discard a Creativity and a Spell Pierce, go land. We're doing it. Play a land, pass back to my opponent. My opponent untaps and draws, doesn't play a land, passes back to me, has no lands on the battlefield. Which, by the way, at some point during the turn where he sacked all the lands, he played a Mishra's Bauble and triggered DRC, looked at the top card, slammed it back on top, and went, Kobe never let me down. We learned later on that was a Lightning Bolt that he was trying to draw and then draw a land for. And they did miss their land off the top. They passed back to me. I flipped my Fable of the Mirror Breaker, cast Transmogrify on my Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and they conceded. The unfortunate part is that I still had Atraxa in my deck. And so since they had Lightning Bolt in their hand, if I hit Atraxa, they would be able to untap and draw a land and be able to just bolt me and kill me because I can't just gain life off Atraxa immediately. But he conceded to me casting Transmogrify and didn't let me flip over the cards, so we'll never know. And I won the RCQ. So I'm going to be going to Dallas, and I'm really excited for it, especially after 2 crazy near misses in a row, one of them being of crazy unluck. And if you made it this far in the video, I'm really happy you care enough to listen and hear about a tournament recap. And if you like this video and want to see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on Twitch. I stream nearly every night, mostly just streaming my grinding and whatnot. And just check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.